Welcome to the Fellowship of the Films podcast. My name's Duncan, and with me I have Ryan, and today we're discussing DC's latest film, Black Adam.
But before we discuss that, make sure to check out our socials in the About section of our channel, as well as the description of this video. Make sure to comment, and like, and subscribe.
So, DC just released their second film this year, Black Adam.
And, yep, 2 a year. That's a rate right there.
I prefer that rate over like a dozen. How many Marvel's gonna have in total this year?
I don't want to count. That's too many.
Yeah, that's too many. So I'd rather too little than too many.
Well, it's only 4 movies, I think, but yeah. And then, anyway.
I'd rather 2.
All right, Black Adam.
It's easier to follow, and also I was far more hyped when there's less movies coming out. When one does come out, it's way more exciting to me.
Black Adam.
Black Adam. Overall reaction, Ryan.
No, you go first.
Okay. So I had a very positive reaction. We kind of knew that was coming because
I knew that was coming.
I'm a DC fan, but like, it would have had, if it was absolute garbage,
Nope.
I would admit that. Yes, I would. But this was not. This was a thorough good time. Did it have some flaws? Yes. Do I recognize those flaws? Yes. But am I willing to put those flaws aside because of how much I enjoy the movie? Yes. So overall, I had a really positive reaction. I really, really, really liked it. I'm on the verge of saying I loved it, but right now it's just I really, really liked it.
All right. See, I'm less positive. I definitely, what's the right word? Was it a worthwhile use of my time? Yes. Would I go run again and see it in theaters? Probably not.
Okay.
Yeah, would I maybe go watch it if it was on streaming sometime and I really felt like it? Sure. You know? Like, it definitely had flaws, but as just kind of like, it was more, I found it more just kind of like, okay, if you turn your brain off and look at the pretty colors, it's kind of alright, you know?
See, I didn't think it was bad enough that you had to turn your brain off.
There was some problems.
So
I'll start. There was too many.
Let's jump over the spoiler wall. So if you haven't seen the movie, go watch it. If you don't care about seeing the movie, we'll still go watch it, please. Mm-hmm. Anyways, what are you going to start with?
Well, I'm going to start with let's start with the positives, because we always like to be positive first, right? There was some cool action scenes that I actually did like.
I thought the action in this was extremely well done. I thought there was lots of slow motion, but that's just kind of become a DC trademark.
There wasn't actually that much. I didn't even mind the. Okay, so here's the thing. If I'm gonna go crap on Zack Snyder's Justice League again. The slow motion in this actually made sense, right? Because it's not just adding slow motion for the sake of adding slow motion, right? This makes a lot more sense, and it really adds to the stuff because you're just letting the audience perceive events that would normally be too fast for us to like perceive, basically, right? Like that one scene that in particular that I'm thinking of is like when he goes to like Black Adam's just getting out of the cave and he's just like shooting all the lightning and
killing everybody.
Yeah, he grenades the guy in the mouth or whatever.
That really reminded me of Quicksilver a little bit.
Okay, yeah.
You know, from the X-Men
movies.
Yeah,
I've seen some of that stuff. Yeah, and that scene in particular, right? That was one of my, that action scene was I quite liked that action scene, right? And that use of slow motion, I'm okay with that. That was okay.
I thought if we want to talk about the action scene for a second, I thought his entire escape from the moment he appeared was awesome.
Okay.
The way he took out those guys in the cave was really brutal, actually. Like, he had an arm in his hand at one point.
Yeah.
And one of the guys, he just took him by the arm and just went smack into the... Like, it was really brutal, which I enjoyed. I was like, hey, this is PG-13, so they're not showing a ton, but you still get the brutalness of it.
You understand. Yeah, it's not like you need blood splatters all over the screen, but like you understand. Like, okay, this man does not care about killing people.
No. So I thought that was really cool. And then when he came out of the cave as well, all of that, I like the slow motion. I like that they put it to a good Rolling Stones song. I always like when there's some good music choices.
Which that's another thing I'll have to say later on. But there was quite a bit of music in this movie.
I enjoyed it. I loved it. You know what? You put a good action scene to a rock song or something like that, and I'm like, you know what? I enjoy that because I remember later on in the movie we also, I think it was before that, we hear Bullet with Butterfly Wings by the Smashing
Yes.
Pumpkins. And then there's a couple others I'm forgetting, I think. But overall, I thought, like, that's a stylistic choice I enjoy in a movie.
Okay. Yeah.
As long as it's not too in your face and too much, which I didn't think it was.
Okay.
That entire escape sequence was good. Now we were talking about the slow motion. You thought it worked there.
I thought in that specific instance it worked there, and that was like the main instance I found in the entire movie. I didn't notice too much otherwise.
Now, if we're going to talk about slow motion, the slow motion in the movie, this is kind of jumping around. Well, maybe let's
start with the positives. So,
okay.
what do you like?
Other things I like. I'm trying to think of it in order. Relatively okay. Let's talk about the JSA.
Yeah.
So the JSA, Justice Society of America, I think was really well done in this movie.
You think it was well done? Okay.
I think it was well casted.
Okay.
Interesting direction they went with Hawkman. He's kind of a little bit overconfident, or just thinks he's the shit. As well as we got Dr. Fate, beautifully cast with Pierce Brosnan.
Yeah.
I think he was great. He felt kind of like a Doctor Strange, but it felt different enough.
I didn't really think. No, I felt he was a pretty unique character overall.
Yeah.
Well, Doctor, like, specifically, like, I don't know. I don't even know much about comics, but they definitely felt like two completely different characters. Even their power, like, their powers, they were different comparatively. Because Doctor Fate, like, my main experience from Doctor Fate's from playing Injustice 2. And I know for a little bit from like some of the lore and other stuff like that is like he likes that the helm makes a little copies or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And like, you know, just grabbing all that stuff like that feels unique enough to me that it's different. I like that.
Really cool when all of these Dr. Fates were running at someone. That was awesome. And then also like I liked that it was kind of like he was the source for the group, but he was also like kind of old and wise at the same time.
Okay.
Because as much as Dr. Fate came first in the comics, the iteration on screen we got first was Doctor Strange, which is a relatively similar character, but he's not old and wise. He's still relatively young.
Well, this guy, he's been around. Apparently, I think he mentioned something about being around during World War II when he was a child or whatever.
Yeah.
So he's been around for a bit.
Yeah. So, I just like that added dynamic. And then the rest of the members, I thought Cyclone, we didn't really get to know anything about.
No, and Adam Smasher, he was kind of a comic relief, but...
Right, so those two characters were kind of just throwaways, but I'm assuming if we were to get a second one or maybe some spin-off stuff, we'd get to know more about them.
Yeah.
I don't really blame them for us not knowing a ton about those characters, because you can't really...
Well, there was too many plot lines to actually go in depth with every character.
Yeah, so I don't blame them for that. Some characters are just going to be there. But overall, I thought the JSA was awesome. I loved the ship, the base.
Yeah, that's the kind of that it did kind of give me a little bit of like an X-Men kind of vibe the way that was set up, because it kind of reminded me of like Xavier's Mansion or whatever, right? But like it was, I don't know, I liked it. Like it definitely they stuck to it kind of like the future tech, because even like the cyber bikes that the bad guys or whatever they had, right?
Yeah.
Like those cyber bikes, there's like futuristic tech, right? Yeah. And it felt like it was like pretty integrated into like the world, right? Which is that's what you like to see. Like it's just like having one dude have like the mega blaster, you know, and just I think this was good. I liked the like I agree, like the whole JSA and how they were like. I liked the casting definitely. I actually did. I thought Adam Smasher, like some of his like little like he was half decent comic.
Adam Smasher was hilarious. I thought he was. There wasn't a comedic line from him that I was like, that was dumb. For the most part, I was like, I was on board with the comedy, and sometimes sometimes you're not, sometimes you are. But I thought I was. And to talk about the ship for one last thing, I liked how they used it as their base throughout the movie. They kind of always went back to the ship, which I don't see much. I'm trying to think back to movies where they've used a ship. You kind of just see them dropped off and the ship's gone. Or you see when it comes to superhero movies. But they never continue to use it as kind of a portable base throughout the movie, from what I recall. I'm trying to think back to X-Men movies. We don't see the ship that much.
There's kind of a similar, somewhat of a parallel to Age of Ultron, for an example. But
Age of Ultron, what ship did they?
They Quinjet. They flew all over the place in the dang Quinjet.
Oh, Well,
That's the only example I can think of, but yeah.
yeah, I like when they continue to have kind of a base to.
Well, then it's actually then you have like you kind of, it does slow it down a little bit, but I like that, you know, you get there's balance kind of thing, you know.
So overall, I thought JSA and everything that came with them was pretty good. The pacing of this movie, I want to talk about really quick.
Pacing, yeah.
This movie moves at a breakneck speed. You're just going the whole time. I don't really think there was. I felt like there was no time to breathe.
Wrong. I disagree. No. I think that it definitely slowed down. Like it felt, I don't know. There's a weird shutter shock where it almost feels like something. I've been thinking about this, right? It feels weird because when they capture Black Adam and he goes into that little thing, right? I don't know. I feel like the pacing really just like once they like Black Adam starts to talk to Hawkman or whatever when he's in the castle and he's giving himself up basically, right? From that point onward, I feel like the movie just slows right down.
Really?
And
like in a bad way?
In like not I was starting to check like that's when I started to check the clock and be like, okay, what's happening?
I did see you check the clock during it.
Yeah, because I'm like, is this the end? I was just like, is this the end, or like we got another like rush like bit at the end of this basically, right? And like at that point it slowed right down, and I don't know. I know for me, like my interest was kind of like, okay, whatever. I guess they're probably gonna have some kind of villain after this, right? That's kind of it. That's like the Rush fourth act conclusion basically. Because I feel like I don't know, I wouldn't say end the movie after, like, at that point, right? But I'd say, like, it definitely, like, it definitely slowed, it took me right out. It slowed everything, like, right down, right there.
Interesting. I didn't have an issue with it because, essentially, the first, like, half of the movie is just a giant action sequence. Like, I felt like the action kept going. And I didn't have an issue with it. I was just like, wow, this is a lot of action. And we haven't really taken a break of it. We've taken short breaks. But it's been, for the most part, a lot of action.
There is a lot of action, I will say.
Which I was fine with. But once we slowed down for that little bit there, I didn't have an issue with it. I found it to be a place to breathe and kind of go, okay, what have we just seen? What's going to happen now? I didn't have an issue with it. Like, I saw you check your phone and I was like, huh. Because I didn't have an issue with it. I think in that kind of movie, you need, like, a slower...
Yeah, but not, like, to the point of just, like, you don't go from going 100 miles an hour to molasses.
I didn't think it was molasses, though. We were still making progress. We weren't having, like, long, boring conversations. There were still events happening. They put Black Adam in the cell. They went to, like, they were still doing things.
Yeah, but it's just... I don't know. It brought me out of it, and it's just I feel like you could have, even if you keep like the same story beats, I feel like you could have just paced out a little bit better by changing a couple scenes. You
fair enough. Fair enough. I didn't share the opinion, but to each their own. What else? What else are we going to talk about with this movie?
Well, that's a good stuff. Now let's talk about the criticisms. So, criticisms I have about the movie. I already mentioned the pacing. I felt it was a little bit off-putting at like that one specific spot. Overall, like it does continue at a pretty fast pace, but they add enough breaks that it's not like, you know, you're just lasering through. I don't mind that. It's just when you start to get to that like that one scene kind of like area, I feel like it slows right down. Then we're gonna jump to, let's talk about some characters here. Let's talk about some characters, and not the fact that like Black Adam, I didn't mind at the beginning. I'm like, okay, he's fighting dudes, he's killing. I get that. That's his stick. He doesn't care. Blah 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 blah. You know. I feel like he just transitions to just helping this family, like, really, really fast. Without, like, I think it's like, I feel like it's just like one scene, and now he's like, alright, well, if you say so, I'll go take out this, I guess he does, like, he wants to free Kahndaq or whatever, right? But it's just, it feels a little fast, you know? To me personally, I just feel like that whole, like...
What do you mean? Like, the aspect of him wanting
to help? Aspect of him wanting to, like say like help this like random like family or whatever, right? Like I get
so
he likes
she freed him.
Yeah.
So it's not random family really. If it wasn't for her,
I don't know. I just don't feel like in his character he'd be that thankful. You know.
Okay, so the way they depict him in the movie, I feel like he would just because like the entire movie, you can tell there's that bit of good in him.
Oh yeah, there is.
He wants a goal. He's just willing to go to great extents to get it.
Yes.
So there is good in him, and I feel like he would be thankful because he's thankful for many things, like he's thankful for, or he's a little less thankful for, but he's grateful for having these powers because his son gave up the powers. I feel like it checks out, especially because if you think of he lost his son, she wants him to go rescue her son.
Well, that's even before that. It was way before her son. Her son's not even captured at that point. That makes sense, right?
Okay, I thought that's where we were talking about.
No, I'm talking about like right at the beginning of this, like the very start.
You mean when he first
wakes
appears?
up. He remember he gets knocked out in the desert, right? He wakes up.
Yeah.
And he just like I don't get why he comes back kind of thing like that to that extent basically, right? I just don't.
So
I feel like they could have added like instead of change it up, just add like one or two more scenes, and I would have been convinced basically, right? But specifically the dialogue, it didn't convince me that like he would go to like help like specifically this family. I get he would go help this country or whatever, right? But I just don't get it, you know?
So yeah, and I get it in that point because he's woken up. He knows who freed him. They've done him a favor, so he's gonna do something for them. Then once he's done that, the rest of these guys, as far as I'm concerned, that's what starts it.
Mm-hmm.
She summons him. He goes, "Okay, she summoned me. I'm going to help her with these guys in the cave." Once he's done killing them, he goes out and everybody starts shooting at him. So that's his reason to kill them because they're just trying to kill him.
This is not even what I'm saying, but yeah, okay.
Okay, I'm confused.
Whatever. It doesn't. That's just one critique I have of the movie, basically.
Okay, but that's what we're just... Another thing that I had with it, so one of my issues, I was saying how the slow-mo worked for lots of parts.
There is parts I liked, yeah.
But I felt there was parts that looked really bad.
Yeah.
Particularly at the part when they're holding the kid hostage.
Okay. Oh, that...
And he dodges in there.
Oh,
and you see everybody in slow motion.
Yeah.
That had the idea was there to see kind of what's going on slowly.
Yeah, but it just...
But just the way it was done, it looked cheap, and everybody's face looked ridiculous. Like, they kept zooming in on The Rock's face, and he was like, oh, and it looked really goofy.
Yeah.
And then the mother was, like, screaming and in slow motion, and Black Adam put his wing around her to protect her from these...
yeah.
Who did I say?
Black Adam.
No. Hawkman.
Hawkman grabbed her, Dr.
grabbed
Fate.
her. Yeah, but it just looked cheap the way it was done, because when he grabbed her, she didn't move at all.
Mm-hmm.
And then we just got these goofy face shots. I didn't love how that was done.
Yeah, I agree, yeah.
Faces in slow motion always look kind of goofy, so don't zoom in on them and make it the entire screen is The Rock's wrinkly, screaming face. I'm just like, no.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
So... I didn't love that. I think it worked for me pretty much in every other scene, but that one I was just like, oh, this is rough.
That was one scene I did overlook a little bit. Yeah, that was I agree that like you could have, or I think personally just would have you could have done like this Flash kind of thing where like he's just fast and he just like would like just be in the way, not like slow mo at all, right? I feel like that could have been a little bit better, but yeah, just especially the way they did it wasn't my favorite.
No.
Speaking of things not looking like, there was a couple, like, while the movie, most of it all looks, it looked pretty good overall. There's some good scenes, and there's some, most of it's, like, at least serviceable. There's a couple scenes that just didn't look, like, the one scene where the zombies, like, near the end of the movie, right? The zombies are, like, the evil demon dude, he's back, he's got the powers of the demons, right?
Yeah.
And the zombies are all coming out to play, basically. That looked like there was two specific shots, and it looked like they were just superimposed over a background, right? And it just looked terrible. Like it just reminded me of just like a basic editing thing. It just looks like you put something in front of a background. It doesn't look like it looks so bad.
Yeah. So I'm gonna mention, I agree with you on most of it looks good. Some of it looks. I was kind of like a 90% to a 10%. 90% of it looked beautiful to me, but there was a 10% that was just so extremely bad, it took me out for a second. I was like, holy man, that's rough.
Yeah.
So that wasn't even one of the points that I noticed. Like when the zombies were there,
it's just not the shot of the zombies, but the shot of the kid's mom and his uncle or whatever, right?
Okay.
It shot them or whatever as the zombies are like rising up. It just looks. It just I
didn't notice that one. I might have not been watching close enough. But there was just a couple other ones that took it down for me a little bit. But that's okay. I thought enough of the movie just looked really good visually.
Yeah,
like impressive. I thought this one was impressive.
You thought it was
visually.
impressive,
like compared to what I've been watching with other superhero movies and have had some rough CGI. I thought this was impressive. Like I enjoyed looking at it. I was like, this is pretty nice.
For the most part, I agree. Yeah, it did look.
There's the 90 to 10%, or you could say 80 to 20, but.
Well, I think it looked. Some of it looked pretty good. Most of it looked like good, right? Yeah. And then the rest looked like okay, that was not very good.
No. Now the zombies in general, I thought
that was
I thought that was a what's the point thing. I was like, why?
Well, I understand what they were going for.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, the people of Kahndaq need to rise up and overthrow, but they already had a set up villain, like the Intergang or whatever, right? So why didn't they, like, I get they did, well, I get that, the problems with that, of the Intergang have guns and it's a bunch of people with clubs, but, like, I don't get I don't get why we needed more, like zombies and that for them to be able to rise up, you know?
Yeah, the zombies just in general, like, I get why they're there, but it just felt kind of forced. I was like, we don't need zombies here too. No, we don't.
Like, and that, it just was something for this, it really felt like, it's like, okay, we need something for these side characters to be doing while the main conflict happens, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm trying to think, I think I've covered most of my criticisms on the movie.
So, I have a couple more.
Okay.
There's a couple, I just have a couple other things, like, the one thing that kind of bugs me is this dude's kind of plan. Basically, right? The main villain, his entire plan is just a tad, I don't know. I liked what they were going for. They're looking for, okay, this guy, he's trying to be, like, smart, or, like, trying to make him at least seem somewhat smart. He knows Black Adam's going to kill him, right? But then he knows that he's going to come back because of the magic imbued in the crown, and the demons are going to give him powers, and, you know, so on and so forth, right? He knows that, but, like, it just, and it makes sense because he got access, he gets all the access to the research, and, like, he knows all, specifically the mom, he has also access to all of her research, right?
Yeah.
In addition to, it looks like he's done his own stuff, and so he knows what's going to happen, basically, right? It's just, there's just something that don't sit right with me about that whole thing. Just his whole plan is, okay, I am the last descendant of this king dude, basically, right? I'm gonna go get this crown and then become, like, the next one or whatever. And it's just, like, if he knew where it was, like, I don't get why he went with it. Just that whole twist where he was evil and, like, good at the beginning and then evil, basically. I just don't like that. It just feels forced. It's like, okay, well, and they laid the seeds, and he's gonna betray him. And it's I'm so tired of that narrative at this point. I'm sick of it, you know?
Yeah.
And then it's just, he turns into this evil demon monster, and it's like, are you really, guys? Like, this is where you decided to take this, you know?
I agree with you in an aspect. I didn't think about it that much, mostly just because, to me, the villain was the least interesting part of the movie.
Yeah, easily.
The villain was there at the end to have a reason to call back Black Adam.
Yeah.
So I didn't really want to put a ton of thought into it because of that. So I just kind of, he's a villain because there needs to be a villain in this movie. I didn't really think of it, but I do agree that even if you need to throw in a villain, it wasn't awesomely done.
Yeah. It's just, like, in between his motive and, like, his motivations, like, what does he want to, like, he just wants to be evil and just, like, rule these people with an iron fist? Like, is that what he wants? I don't, you know, like, you could do anything else, man. Like, you could sell it, like, if you could sell this artifact for a lot of money and just have that instead. Yeah. I feel like it's a better option. Just saying, but evil guys gotta be evil, I guess.
Yeah, I agree with this one on I agree with this. Do you have any other thoughts?
There's just a couple other, like, there's, other than, like, a couple other scenes and, you know, just some minor stuff, that would be kind of my main criticisms.
Yeah.
It's just, there was good stuff in this movie. Like, there's a couple scenes I really liked, actually. Like I mentioned, that that first slow-mo scene at the start, I like that. And there's just overall, I wouldn't say I, like, hated this movie, but I definitely, I feel like it could have been a little bit better, but overall, I'll still say that it was alright. It was worth the time to watch it, definitely, still.
Fair enough. Yeah. And I think there is, like, I am more positive about, and I think there's a large amount of bias on that.
Yeah.
But I think I'm also just, because of my bias, I'm willing to, a lot of the points you make, I understand and I get them, and I understand why a lot of people wouldn't enjoy this movie.
Yeah.
I'm sharing my opinion, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. And I definitely enjoyed watching this movie, right? Yeah. It was, I actually quite, like, it was, I don't know, I'm kind of, what's the right word? I can enjoy stuff and still have problems with it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just, it wouldn't, like, overwrite, for example, but it was just, that's just the way I kind of see things, you know?
Right. Yeah, so I think we're getting towards our closing thoughts here. So I have a question for you.
Yeah.
We always kind of, whenever we've discussed Marvel or stuff in the past, we kind of will throw in, oh, it was like better than this, but not as good as this. How does it compare to recent DC for you?
Recent DC, it would, out of the last 3 DC movies, it would probably be the weakest.
The weakest? Okay.
It would be better than about 2/3 of, like, the DCEU stuff, at least. Mm-hmm. Like, it's better than the Suicide Squad. Well, not that the. It's better than Suicide Squad.
Right.
It's better than Batman v Superman, I'd say.
Okay. I'd
say it's better than a couple of, like, the other, like, you know, they're real bad ones that people rag on them on over and over again, basically.
Yeah.
And overall, like, but it's not. I'd say it's, like, it's worse than the Batman. I like the Batman more. Okay. And I'd say it's worse than the Suicide Squad, because that's probably the best thing I've seen that DC's made yet.
Right. How does it sit with Justice League to you?
Justice League?
Like Zack
Snyder's? Yeah, it's definitely better than Justice League.
Yeah.
That's not hard, but...
No, everything
just Zack Snyder's, I'd say, like, they'd be about comparable.
Comparable, okay.
You know, like Zack Snyder's was a little bit longer, but overall, the story, there was some beats and there was more characters, and since there's more characters, it allows all the plot lines to flourish, where some of the plot lines really didn't get a whole lot of shine, and, like, not many characters, like, that's the other thing, like, characters really didn't get a whole lot of arcs, where, like, I like characters that change, you know? Like, I like dynamic characters.
Yeah.
Where this has a lot more static characters in it, you know?
Fair
but
enough.
Overall, like, I'd say it'd probably be about comparable.
Fair enough. Yeah, for me, well, we know I like them all a lot, but this one, as much as I really, really enjoyed it, I think it still sits below, like, Justice League, the Suicide Squad. It does sit above the first Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
I would say it sits... I would say it sits above Batman vs. Superman. I love Batman vs. Superman, but this movie was just a lot of fun and, I don't know, just easier to watch than some of those.
Yeah.
I would also say this is above Shazam for me.
Above Shazam? I don't know. I quite like I'd say I like Shazam, the original Shazam, more. And I rewatched that recently, and I overall I thought it was good.
Oh, I think it's really good. It's just this one was just a more enjoyable time for me.
Okay.
I think the first Shazam was, I really enjoyed it, but it's a little too family for me. Like,
see, I think that adds to the movie, but yeah.
Does it?
Yeah, I feel like. But anyways, this is Black Adam talk.
Yeah. But in general, I really enjoyed it. Before we're done talking about, let's really quickly touch on that credit sequence.
Oh yes, we got Henry Cavill back. Yay!
Henry Cavill as Superman.
I can't clown on DC for not having a Superman anymore, so they got one.
So Henry Cavill is back as Superman, and I think... So here's what people are getting
We're
mad...
We're still missing a Batman, but we got a Superman.
Here's what people are getting mad about on the internet that I do not agree with at all.
Okay, what was it?
They have an issue with that he's in the red and blue suit.
Okay, like the classic one.
Yeah. They're like, well, he was in the black suit in Zack Snyder's Justice League, so by him being in the red and blue, they're saying they're taking the other one as canon. No. He was in the black one because he had just come back from the dead, and he thought it was fitting to wear that in Justice League.
Yeah,
I could easily see him have switched in.
Yeah, and also
however much time.
I don't. Yeah, that just looks like you're a damn murderer now. I think he's probably trying to be a positive super. You know, I think he'd probably just be a positive guy kind of thing.
And then they're like, and they didn't play his theme from the Zack Snyder movies. They played Superman's theme from the original. Like they played a bit of the theme from Superman with Christopher Reeve back in the 70s. So they played the classic Superman theme, which I didn't have an issue with that.
They're playing the classic
They're playing the classic Superman. It's like if Batman came on and they played like a little bit of a classic Batman theme. I'd be like, so you're paying respect to the previous Superman.
Oh, I think that's...
And that's a classic Superman.
And they might... See, and here's the thing we don't know, right? They may not be running off of, like, they may not run off of, like, specifically... Like, if DC's really kind of resetting stuff, right?
Yeah.
They may not be running off of the stuff set up hard in the, what's the right word? In, like the Zack Snyder era, right? They may not be, like, using all of that stuff. So it might be, like, not like it'd be the same thing they did with, like, the Suicide Squad. It's like a soft reset kind of thing, right?
Yeah. The way it's being brought to, the way I understand it at the moment is they're not saying what's canon. They're not saying which Justice League's canon or whatever. They're going, we're going forward now.
Yes.
And
they're just not going to
choose what you want to be canon, but we're going forward with the same actors.
Yeah,
and that makes a lot of sense to me.
Well, I like Henry Cavill. He looks like Superman.
He's a really good Superman.
I like it.
Yeah, and so what they're doing is making a lot of sense to me because now, the Snyder fans can watch the Snyder stuff and consider it canon. The people who don't care for it don't have to. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, like
because they're just starting anew.
Well, they as soon as they made two different versions of the same movie, basically, right? They already opened up the can of worms, kind of thing.
Yeah,
like that's just what you have to expect at that point.
Yeah. So at this point, I'm hoping that they just going forward, they keep a more organized plan.
Mm-hmm.
But for previous, it can be whatever people want to interpret.
Yeah, this is a new era kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And Dwayne Johnson said that he says like this is like the first phase of his.
Phase of his multi-level marketing scheme. Yes.
We'll see how it all plays out.
Yeah, especially with although apparently this is the highest Black Adam got actually pretty half decent box office or whatever.
I heard that. Got a good box office so far, but what's rough is the Rotten Tomatoes score.
Yeah, I went in blind, so
I don't think it deserved that. It's like at a 44 right now, I believe.
44.
And
oh man,
I think it deserves.
That's too close to Suicide Squad just for me to feel a little pain.
I think, in my opinion, of course, in my personal opinion, I have a lot higher. But if I was just a regular critic, I would at least put this in a 65.
I'd say it's 60, at least.
It's still though, not 44.
Yeah, this is I don't know. Maybe I'm not seeing the true badness in this, but whatever. I didn't hate it.
Which is interesting because I try to just ignore Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, honestly, every single time I check a score on Rotten Tomatoes, my opinion of the platform just goes down.
Yeah, but unfortunately, the reason we discussed it, a lot of people do listen to it.
Yeah, so, if they see it's like a 50, they may not go to see it in theaters, which will,
Yeah, so the audience score is a lot better though, because we have the audience score and the critics score. Yeah. The audience score is a lot more decent. And I find I was looking at some because I've never looked at the audience score before. I relate with a lot more of the audience scores than because even we're talking about, and I'm not comparing, but I'm just bringing up the topic of we've been discussing She-Hulk.
Yeah.
The audience score is a lot more where we've been on She-Hulk than the critics.
The critic score is high.
Critics score is like an 80 or a 90, and the audience score is like a 40.
Yeah, that feels more accurate to me. Yeah. So
I'm starting to just watch the audience scores because I'm like, these seem like real people.
I did hear it got review bombed, but
which one?
She-Hulk.
Well, it doesn't sound like it got review bombed, but
40. Oh.
Yeah.
But overall,
so, I think I don't watch Rotten Tomatoes, but it seems like the audience scores are more real people than the critics.
Yeah, exactly.
Anywho, I think that concludes most of our thoughts. What do you give? Final thoughts on Black Adam? What's your rating?
I'd say it was all right. That's where I'd say it was all right.
Okay, I give it a solid 7.5 out of 10.
7.5. Okay, that's fair. Yeah.
It is
That's
heavily
biased, but I can
opinionated.
see it,
It
yeah.
is heavily opinionated. I'm not saying it's objectively a good movie. I'm saying, in my opinion, it's a good movie.
Fair.
So that's our thoughts on Black Adam, everybody. Go out, watch it, support it anyways, so that we can see the future of DC unfold, and they don't need another box office bomb.
Okay, there is one thing I would love to see in DC, though, right? If they can actually build up and get a universe, I'd love to see, because you know how, I'd love to see, an Injustice storyline somewhere in there.
Like a multiverse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like a live-action Injustice storyline, I feel like if done right, that could be amazing. Just as a one-off movie, It
could. I think there's plenty of storylines. Something similar to Injustice.
Yeah,
I'm not saying directly.
not ripped
but
from comics.
something with
Injustice-like.
Something with the multiverse would be really cool.
Oh, I feel like that would be cool.
But we will get a taste of it in the Flash, most likely.
Mm-hmm.
With the multiple Batmans and stuff. But we'll see.
We will see, yeah.
Anywho, thank you for listening today, everybody. Leave a like, comment, let us know what you thought of Black Adam.
Yep.
And we will see you next time.